and every forecourt, yard, garden, enclosure, or open space are pertinent thereto. Insofar as it may be necessary, in a case where council or committees convene beyond the seat of council, these rules shall apply as if premises where council or committees are meeting were within the precincts of council. I therefore declare all venues where the councillors are connecting for this council meeting as precincts of council.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is hereby notified that the 48th ordinary meeting budget speech of the City of Johannesburg Municipal Council will be held on Tuesday, the 25th of May 2021 at 10:00 hours, followed by the budget speech debate and consideration of reports on Thursday, the 27th May 2021 at 10:00 hours in the new council chamber and boardrooms, Metropolitan Centre, Braamfontein. This is in line with the Directive 6.7 of the regulations issued by the Minister of Culture on the 3rd of July 2020, read together with Level 1 regulations issued by the Minister of Culture on the 28th of February 2021.
Thank you very much, Secretary to Council. The Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Chief Whip of Council, Councillor Solomon Mohase, Leader of Executive Business, Councillor Loyiso Mosubu, Chair of Chairs, Councillor Salfina Mulauzi, members of the Mayoral Committee, chairpersons of Section 79 committees, political party leaders and whips, GNU leadership present, the Regional Secretary of the African National Congress in Johannesburg, Mr. Adam Morero, fellow councillors, acting city manager, Mr. Tepo Makula, Secretary to Council, Ms. Vicky Shuping, all investors of the City of Johannesburg present here today, officials of the City of Johannesburg, residents of the City of Johannesburg, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to the 48th ordinary meeting of the City of Johannesburg Municipal Council. Let me start by wishing all the residents of Johannesburg, the nation and continent at large, a happy Africa Day. May we continue to work together to build greater social cohesion and continental integration for a better Africa and a better world that is built on our values of democracy, freedom, equality, and the hope for a better future for all members of the human race. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to congratulate the African National Congress, the Patriotic Alliance, and the Democratic Alliance on winning wards 7, 17 and 18 and 23 respectively, following the by-elections held on the 19th of May 2021, and welcome the following newly elected ward councillors. We have Councillor Zama from Ward 7. We have Councillor Rafeti for Ward 17.
Welcome back.
We have Councillor Smith for Ward 18. And we have one who is not necessarily new, but have a new responsibility, Councillor Mayers for Ward 23. Congratulations, councillors, on your new responsibilities. The citizens of Johannesburg are awaiting for your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Item 2.
Councillor Sanjwan. What is it? No. Huh? Okay, Councillor Singh. All right. Councillors. That's a wrong start of the day. Councillors, please. We all know that we are not supposed to eat in the chambers. We have to respect the chamber and respect the rules of the chamber. So please finish your food outside the chamber and come to the chamber afterwards.
I'm sorry, Speaker, I was eating silver.
You don't have to eat anything.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Item 2, application for leave of absence.
We did not receive any leave of absence. May I request the party whips to, if there are any leave of absence? Chief Whip.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. From the ANC side, we have Councillor Matongo who's not well and been hospitalized at the legal last week we did inform Councillor.
Okay, thank you very much. I see Councillor Alexander, but before that, let me indicate that we have councillors that are connecting online. Democratic Alliance have given us a notice that they will be connecting online. We also have a list of some of the councillors from the EFF who are connecting online. And we also have a list of councillors from the ANC who are connecting online. So we also have Councillor Natenja who is connecting online, and Councillor from UDM, and Councillor Dilange from Freedom Front Plus is connecting online. Councillor Alexander, leave of absence. Councillor Alexander, are you covered? Okay, she has lowered her hand. Okay. No, there's a hand.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
All right. Before we go to the next item, councillors, I am now going to afford this opportunity to the members of the media to come to the front and take pictures, and I am giving you 5 minutes.
Okay, camera guys. Camera guys.
Okay, swiftly sorry, 5 minutes. You may use the open space here. I see MMC Mwerane is part of the media.
Over from me.
Speaker, sorry, it's Councillor Alexander. From Mark, just for a second.
Okay, Councillor Alexander, can we just wait for 5 minutes? Because I have already given members of the media an opportunity, then I'll come back to you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, members of the media. Thank you very much. Can you please get settled? All right. There was a hint on the leave of absence from Councillor Alexander. So she was unable to speak. I hope you are able to speak now.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I had a couple leave of absence. Councillor Risho, maternity leave. Councillor Harman, Councillor Ray, Councillor Dave Hughes,
Thank you so much, Councillor Alexander.
No, yeah, I'm just, we just
This is another hand.
no worries.
Councillor Rahamaya.
Just to let you know that I am present.
Okay.
I am in the meeting.
All right. Thank you very much. You can lower your hands now. Thank you very much, councillors. Leave of absence noted. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Item 3, recommendations to Council.
Thank you very much. Councillor Musesh.
Welcome to the EFF.
Councillor Musesh, someone is saying to me the first red was the SACP and it is still red. Okay. Hello. I can't see the light there is disturbing my eyes. Who's calling speaker? Oh, okay. Councillor Tomo.
Speaker, let me start by congratulating you. I really
Thank you very much for the compliment, Councillor Tomo. Councillor Tomo, we have a meeting on Thursday, which is a full meeting. So that is still coming. But because you've already said happy birthday to you, so we'll win all the birthdays to her on Thursday. Thank you. Councillors, let me call upon the MMC responsible for the art and science of how money is going to be managed in the city of Johannesburg. Because you know, finance is about art and science of managing monies. That is other than MMC for finance, Cllr Jolidee Matongo. It's your time now, MMC.
Madam Speaker, may I firstly express my sincere gratitude for the Council platform afforded to present the medium-term budget of our city, Africa's most progressive city, the city of Johannesburg, egoli emjipa kwandonga ziyaduma kwanyama kayipheli phela amazinyo endoda. Madam Speaker, the Mayoral Committee on all councillors have a constitutional obligation to carefully exercise executive and legislative authority in the use of the city's resources for the best interest of the residents we represent in council. Madam Speaker, as the presiding officer of our council and the custodian of our legislative processes that are prescribed by the Republic's Constitution, you will appreciate the challenges encountered in the process of putting together the budget. These are challenges related to striking a balance between continued service delivery, the economic decline, as well as managing the devastation of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic on our municipality. Madam Speaker, we owe it to the people of Johannesburg to continue pursuing our constitutional mandate of a developmental local government with the utmost integrity and commitment. Therefore, the budget we are presenting today is a demonstration of the commitment by the city's government of local unity, the GLU, to rebuild and transform Johannesburg into a thriving city that we all aspire it to be. Madam Speaker, Executive Mayor, Chief Whip of Council, members of the Mayoral Committee, chairpersons of committees, leaders of the government of local unity, fellow councillors, especially the children of Mama Charlotte Maxeke, acting city manager and executive team, and a special word of welcome to the residents of our city who have tuned in online. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. In Shona we say, Mangwanani. Madam Speaker, today, the 25th of May, we commemorate Africa Day, which marks 58 years since the formation of the OAU, the precursor to the African Union, the AU. Africa Day is a day dedicated to acknowledging and celebrating the successes of the Africans in their fight against colonialism and apartheid. This acknowledgement is also extended to the progress that the African continent has made, while also being cognizant of the obstacles we continue to face in the global community of nations. Ladies and gentlemen, in his address to the AU in 1998, former President Nelson Mandela reflected on how, for a long time, Africa, and I quote, had to contend with the consequences of a conquest in denial of its role in history, including the denial that its people had the capacity to bring about change and progress, close quote. The global stalwart further pointed out that, and I quote, Africa yearns and deserves to redeem her glory, to reassert a centuries-old contribution to economic, politics, culture, and the arts, and once more, to be a pioneer in the many fields of human endeavor. Madam Speaker and fellow councillors, ladies and gentlemen, we can all take from Madiba's reassuring words that as we are all gathered here today for the delivery of Johannesburg budget in the face of a pandemic, we are all rich with various talents and capabilities as South Africans in Africa and in Johannesburg, to be exact. We all have something invaluable that we can apply in our respective work functions to positively impact the common drive to rebuild and transform our city to thrive even further amongst a devastating pandemic. Fellow councillors and city officials, it is indeed human to feel the pain of the loss and devastation brought upon us by COVID-19 pandemic. We have lost people we know, be it distant or personal. May all those lost to COVID-19 rest in peace, and their loved ones who remain be comforted. Madam Speaker, we have got to deal with our financial status as a city. The ongoing COVID-19 pandemic continues to have a devastating impact on lives and livelihoods of Johannesburg residents. This has seen many people struggle to keep up with their municipal accounts, as you would have seen. This has subsequently affected the collection of municipal rates and taxes that are a source of revenue for continued service delivery. Amid fluctuating revenue collection rates, the City of Johannesburg municipality is still expected to function and provide essential services such as water, electricity, as well as sanitation and refuse collection. A 2020 survey on the impact of COVID-19 on South African municipalities by the National Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation is very telling of our circumstances. It showed that up to 78% of municipalities surveyed across the country were not well prepared to address periods of reduced revenue. Only 44% of them indicated that they had available cash reserves for over a month. I am sure we can all imagine what is currently happening in most South African municipalities, with some not even having a funded budget to speak of. As it stands for Johannesburg, on the 25th of November 2020, Moody's took rating action on the city following their downgrade of South Africa to BA2 status from a BA1 rating. However, Madam Speaker, the city has managed to maintain a strong operating performance, although certainly affected by the economic devastation of the COVID-19 pandemic. The city's liquidity has slightly improved from 5.4 billion in 2018-2019 to 5.6 billion in 2019-2020. Our debt levels are also expected to remain below 40% of the operating revenue in 2023. Madam Speaker, in response to the downgrade, the city remains committed to continue addressing infrastructure development needs, service delivery challenges, and the urgent need to rebuild and transform Johannesburg to be a thriving city that we all aspire to. The budget being presented today supports this commitment. Fellow councillors, it is a given that the city's operating expenditure must be channeled more towards key service delivery areas such as public health, safety, and community development initiatives to curb the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. With the tight economic climate that South Africa is facing, there is a marked decrease in national grant allocations to municipalities, and thereby forcing us to find alternative source of funding. The city's funding model relies on revenue generated from trading services such as water and electricity. Madam Speaker, what tends to differ is the share of each of the sources of funding. Furthermore, with new innovations and technological developments, the traditional notion of utilities as ultimate monopolies that can generate excessive revenue is eroding. For instance, large power users are moving away from the grid, and this means that revenue generated by city power is at risk going forward. Madam Speaker, the current operational budget and capital budget's funding model is based on the continued and sustained generation of surpluses through trading services that are primarily water and electricity. This is complemented by revenue raised through property taxation and grant funding. In addition, National Treasury continues to encourage municipalities to keep increases in rates and taxes at affordable levels for the budget to be realistic as required by the MFA. Ladies and gentlemen, with the scarcity of resources such as water, tariffs are increasingly used to encourage the economic use of scarce resources and to price appropriately for returns to the capital employed in the provision of municipal services. Madam Speaker, in pursuit of financial sustainability, the city continues to monitor revenue trends, tariff structures, changes in the regulatory environment, and the economic impact on various consumer categories as part of formulating revenue forecasts. The rate of revenue collection is currently expressed as a percentage of annual billing. For the medium term, collection rates for the various services are an overall budgeted collection rate of 90.8% for 2021-2022, 91% for 2022 to 2023, and 91.1% for the outer years. I'm sure Councillor Atkinson online will be pleased when we confirm that the city is today tabling a funded budget after National Treasury's benchmarking found that it was also credible and sustainable. Madam Speaker, we've got to strike a balance between the GDS and the budget allocations that we make. The city also has a financial development plan that seeks to drive the rebuilding and transformation of Johannesburg into a thriving municipality we all aspire to. The approach adopted in the plan for financial sustainability includes expenditure management, revenue and debt management, balance sheet optimization, better supply chain and procurement control, as well as financial performance management. Both the funded budget and the financial development plan are designed to aid the transformation agenda that we so wish for the city. We also have the growth and development strategy, the GDS 2040, that we drafted together with Johannesburg residents through the GDS outreach process for public input. The GDS primarily informs the transformation agenda that we are pursuing as the government of local unity. I can further describe the GDS as our execution navigation map. It is our guide to rid the city of the ongoing colliding worlds and visions that are socio-economic divisions and spatial scars of the unjust and immoral system of apartheid. For the first time in history, we have managed to infuse the 5-year integrated development plan into the GDS roadmap. This will ensure that in our day-to-day activities over the next 5 years, we work towards achieving the outcomes of the GDS. Madam Speaker and fellow councillors, if you take a closer look at the GDS outcomes, you will be able to easily identify their alignment with the priorities of the government of local unity, which is led by the African National Congress alongside coalition partners, the Inkatha Freedom Party, the United Democratic Movement, the African Independent Congress, the Congress of the People, and Al-Jama. The GLU, Madam Speaker, took a cue from the GDS outcomes on what the people of Johannesburg have entrusted us to do to improve their lives. Cognizant of the limited time remaining for the current 5-year term of office that began in 2016, the GLU, which only took office 3 months before the COVID-19 lockdown in March 2020, set out 11 strategic priorities. These priorities were the most urgent for the people of Johannesburg in line with the GDS 2040. Madam Speaker, those who began the journey of building the progressive Johannesburg that we all see today, post-1994, painted a clear vision of a city that prioritized socio-economic transformation through strategic spatial redesign. These leaders, Ontate Amos Masondo, Comrade Parkstow, working with Comrade Jeff Makubo, had a vision to make sure that we plant a seed of co-production, of the co-production concept in the delivery of municipal services and the special redesign program that later took off under the respective brand names of Josie at Work and the Corridors of Freedom. It is unfortunate that the Johannesburg Transformation Agenda was disrupted in August 2016 by a political leadership that lacked a real vision for the city. For 3 years, the city was on autopilot without an alternative vision being pursued. The evidence to this is all around us in Johannesburg communities, particularly in poor areas such as Kliptown, Rivoli, Ivory Park, and Orange Farm. Fellow councillors, on the 4th of May this year, the Executive Mayor, Councillor Molwandwa Makubo, clearly outlined in his State of the City address the GLU goals for the last leg of the current term of office amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. He correctly labeled the current governing environment a public emergency that needs to be tackled as such, a public emergency. Mayor Makubo further outlined the following 6 areas that we had to deal with as anchors of the GDS priorities that we have to pursue between now and the end of the term. And those among were working together to defeat the COVID-19 pandemic, forging new economic pathways, entrenching our transformational agenda, ensuring high-impact service delivery, restoring trust and faith by building a new social compact, and confronting the digital divide. Madam Speaker, in the recent CBP and IDP and draft budget public engagements with the people of Johannesburg, the people raised their concerns and interests about what the city does. Their interests were particularly on the GLU priorities and the recently proposed property rates and tariffs for water, electricity, sanitation, and refuse removal. All these were taken into consideration for the budget being tabled today. Madam Speaker, I can assure the people of Johannesburg that their cries during the recent public engagements on the affordability of rates and taxes, particularly during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, did not fall on deaf ears. The city has already placed measures in place to assist residents during this difficult time. Since the beginning of the COVID-19 lockdown, Johannesburg has rolled out several relief interventions. These include an expansion of the rebates net to cushion more the elderly ratepayers through increasing the pensioner income qualifying criteria by 4.36%. This means a pensioner with a property value of below 2.5 million and an income below 10.7 per month or below 18,000 for the upper limit receives a 100% rebate on their property rates. The city further set out to place back an amount of 400 million into the pockets of property owners by giving a 3-month rates rebate on the first 600,000 value of a property during the hard lockdown. The city has also extended the expanded social package benefit during the period for existing beneficiaries to reduce the number of residents who have to visit our customer service centers to renew their benefit during the lockdown period. Madam Speaker, as we speak, we have begun the rollout of the improved debt rehabilitation program approved by this August Council last month, which now also covers more beneficiaries. The program's added relief measures include an increase of the qualifying property value from 600,000 to 1.5 million. This adjustment was influenced by calls from the people of Johannesburg to review the terms and conditions of the debt rehabilitation program. Councillor Sibanyoni, you have raised with me a concern from those residents in our city who pay their municipal accounts without fail. These residents are asking a question, Executive Mayor. What benefit or relief is the city going to give to us, its loyal customers, since it is now writing off debt for those who are in arrears? We take note of this concern and we have already asked the revenue team to bring forth proposals in this regard. Fellow councillors, please go back to your respective communities and reassure residents that the debt rehabilitation program, Councillor Ranjwa, is not designed to catch out the residents for non-payment of municipal accounts to a point that their property is attached. However, the program is aimed at affording amnesty to property owners whose municipal accounts are in arrears for a period of more than 90 days, and those who wish to bring back their accounts up to speed. Madam Speaker, in our attempt to strike a balance between the needs of the residents and the institutional ability To provide for those needs, the city has been confined to maneuvering within a prescribed budget framework. This is a framework that governs local government in as far as finances are concerned, as captured in the MFMA. These budgeting principles further inform the composition of our budget for 2021-2022, which is approximately 73.3 billion. 73.3 billion. Babshang, akuwona ushintsho lo. Imali yangempela. Our operational expenditure sits at 65.1 billion, while our capital expenditure stands at 8.2 billion for the current financial year, with a 3-year capital budget of 25.5 billion. A difficult balancing act of our budget has enabled us to take into consideration pleas from residents for minimal tariff increases of the proposed rates and tariffs for the budget amidst the COVID-19 economic impact on livelihoods. Fellow councillors, it is important to note that property rates revenue is one of the major funding sources for the city. The services funded from the rates revenue include health, safety and security, roads and public parks, as well as many other community-related basic services. There were numerous factors that were considered in recommending the tariffs for the 2021-2022 financial year, including but not limited to the market values of properties in the general valuation roll of 2018. Also included were the ratios as previously determined by Council, the economy of the country and the impact of the pandemic. Madam Speaker, we managed to keep the new tariff increases at the most possible minimum rates as follows. You would remember that for the current financial year, property rates were increased by 4%. In the new financial year of 2021-2022, the property rates will only increase by 2%. This is in line with heeding the call from the ratepayers against an increase, and at the same time also considering the reality of having to ensure that the city has the revenue to continue delivering services to residents. Madam Speaker, in the current financial year, the electricity tariff increase was 6.2%. As things stand, the city is at 14.59% for the new financial year, which means that residents will not be paying more than the 15.09% that NERSA granted to Eskom. Ezandleni bakwethu. Perhaps let's repeat it. Let's repeat it. In the current financial year, the increase, or rather in the new financial year, we are only increasing by 14.59% for electricity. And that means that residents will not be paying more than the 15.09% that NERSA granted to Eskom. In the current financial year, the water tariff increase was 6.6%. The city now for the new financial year stands at 6.8%, which is also anchored on the anticipated bulk water charge from rainwater, while the first 6 kiloliters of water remains free for residents. In the current financial year, the sanitation tariff increases were 6.6%. In the new financial year, the city stands at 6.8%. In the current financial year, as it relates to refuse removal, the tariff, Councillor Moran, in the current financial year, the tariff increase was 5.2%. But for the new financial year, the city has dropped the increase to 4.3%. Ladies and gentlemen, the medium-term budget focuses on strategic priority infrastructure projects in areas that include, in particular, Orange Farm, Greater Ivory Park, and Kliptown. These are projects that are central to increasing the city's economic nodes in line with our GDS socio-economic and spatial transformation agenda. Fellow councillors, the city needs to replicate all the spatial and socio-economic developments achieved in Soweto, also in other parts of the city, particularly in Orange Farm, Ivory Park, and Kliptown. Kliptown, which is home to the backbone of the democracy that we'll all enjoy today, the Freedom Charter. All of us present here today in the chamber will remember that Soweto was once a dusty township designed by the apartheid government for oppression. It was a labor dormitory meant for those who provided labor for capital to only sleep and not live a decent life. Hence, Soweto had no efficient transport system, no active economic hubs such as shopping centers and industrial parks, and no recreational amenities, to mention a few. But today, Executive Mayor, Soweto boasts decent shopping malls, the roads are tarred, and the Ria Vaya bus rapid transit system provides reliable and affordable transport for the township residents. Today, Soweto also boasts state-of-the-art swimming pools and Wi-Fi connected libraries. Our democratic government ensured that Orlando Stadium, Councillor Mosetla, where me and you enjoy our team Orlando Pirates. We have ensured through the democratic government that we upgrade Orlando Stadium to be a state-of-the-art sports facility that hosts international games. But to top it all, today Soweto also has a stunning architectural theater, the Soweto Theater, where we go and enjoy ourselves on a Sunday afternoon. Madam Speaker, the list of developments in Soweto post-1994 is very long. It is, however, the intention of the GLU to do what we did in Soweto, also in Kliptown, the Greater Orange Farm, and the Greater Ivory Park areas, in a bid to fast-track the replication of these developments to other parts of Johannesburg. A significant amount of the budget being presented today is earmarked for the continuation of the Orange Farm, Kliptown, and Ivory Park developments as follows. Councillor Mota, Orange Farm and surrounds have been allocated a medium-term capital allocation of 625 million for the multidisciplinary 10-key project. While other projects in the area, that's not all. You thought 625 million is enough? While other projects in the area will also continue over the medium term, and these include the 140 million for the conversion of open stormwater drains, 215 million towards tarring of gravel roads, 49 million for the construction of a public transport facility, 536 million for water demand management, and a capex of 148 million for Josh Coast social housing 10-key project in Orange Farm. Councillor Mgina, MMC Mgina, we are also pleased that you are responding to one of the strategic priority programs of dealing with the scourge of GBV and femicide. Because in the new budget, we are providing a capex of 1.5 million for a shelter to deal with gender-based violence and femicide. Now, Executive Mayor, we have been under attack about the state of Kliptown. We are responding through this budget. In Kliptown and surrounds, a total of 197 million has been allocated over the medium term for the multidisciplinary 10-key project. Other investments in the Kliptown area over the medium term include the following: 340 million capex earmarked for new bulk infrastructure in the area's housing project and the Walter Sisulu Square of dedication as well. 212 million for the Joshko Social Housing Turnkey Project. Executive Mayor, in the first round of mayoral imbizos and outreach, you went to Ivory Park. You saw for yourself the state of the roads and the infrastructure in Ivory Park, and you have instructed us to respond through this budget to deal with those pressures. So in Ivory Park and surrounds, we have allocated 331 million rand for the multidisciplinary turnkey project over the medium term. Not only that, we are also giving in Ivory Park 203 million for Joshko Social Housing Turnkey Project. We are providing 18 million for CAPEX at COMDEF to construct and complete the swimming pool that the children of Ivory Park so yearn for. JDA is allocated a CAPEX of 30 million rand for the Ivory Park Development Catalytic Node Infrastructure Project. Fellow councillors, you will appreciate that the city's operating budget is designed to directly support our agenda to rebuild and transform Johannesburg into a thriving city. This is to be done through accelerated service delivery. I must repeat, Executive Mayor. It is to be done through accelerated service delivery and the introduction of co-production of municipal services with residents. The OPEX budget will see to the operationalization of new facilities and programs, as well as the enforcement of the mandatory 30% subcontracting for the development and support of SMMEs, whilst also the city's balancing the city's financial sustainability. Madam Speaker, the budget is broken down into the various clusters that we have as we build towards the last leg of the term of office, which seeks to rebuild, transform Johannesburg. The Sustainable Services Cluster, which is made up of EISD, Housing, City Power, Johannesburg Water, Pick It Up, and Joshko, is central to the provision of basic services to the residents of Johannesburg. The cluster is allocated the largest portion of the budget to enable not only the provision of these services, but also to ensure the sustainability of services and related infrastructure over the term. A capital budget of 13.2 billion across the medium term and an operational budget, expenditure budget of 38 billion in the new financial year has been allocated to the cluster. As part of the cluster, EISD is allocated an operational expenditure budget of 154 million and 162 million for the 3-year rolling capital budget. Of this allocation, a significant portion is dedicated to waste sorting facilities, increasing the city's waste treatment and disposal capacity, and to fast-track the waste to energy program. In the new financial year, Pick It Up will contract at least 40 cooperatives in line with our co-production model. And these cooperatives will in turn employ on a short-term basis 10 to 15 people per ward to ensure that ours is a clean city. Next up in the cluster is the housing department with an allocation of an operational expenditure budget of 1 billion and a multi-year capital budget of 4.4 billion over the medium term. So the housing department has also been allocated 40 million over the medium term to commence work on the Southern Farms Housing Development Program. It is anticipated that once completed, the Southern Farms project will yield no less than 15,000 housing units, which are decent and affordable. Now, Madam Speaker, the housing need is immense, and undeniably it is one of the GLU's priorities to create a significant impact in the housing market. In responding to the historical backlog in housing, the department will continue with the development of various mega projects across the city, in Lufereng, in Vliehof, in Lehae, in Riverside. Siyacela-ke mnumzana uMabaso, uma lezi zindlu seziphelile, abantu mabangene, abantu abaselistini mabangene, zingahlali zi-empty ngoba siyazi ukuthi uma zihlala zi-empty kukhona abazothatha abantu bayobafaka. Siyacela-ke ukuthi izindlu zingahlali zingenabantu. The department also has a 295 million set aside for the upgrade of several hostels over the medium term. 295 million for the upgrade of hostels over the medium term. Laphana eDube number 77. Ubhuti wayehlala khona. Angijwayele ukuyovakasha lapha ngesonto. Angithekele iFanta Orange nama Itsamo. So we want to ensure that hostels become decent places of living. Madam Speaker, through the dedicated upgrade of informal settlements grant of 1.4 billion over the next 3 years, the city is set to formalize 13 informal settlements, 1,660 units in Hospital Hills, 1,600 units for Klipspruit Extension 7, 1,074 units in Slovo Park near Mansfield, 1,045 units in Rugby Club, 1,210 units in Princess Plot, 1,860 units in Kaya Sands, 507 units in Organic Pound. Now, Mr. Mayor, it's important that we received from our colleagues in the council a list of the things that they wished for. And one of the things they wished for was that we intervene in Meriting. And we are doing exactly that with 569 units in Meriting. A further 90 million is made available to provide communities with service stands. This will go a long way in curbing, we must say it will go a long way in curbing illegal land grabs and provide communities with land to build for themselves. Now, MMC Mukwena, we are going to deal with illegal land invasions. But while we do so, we cannot just deal with illegal land invasions and not provide an alternative. That is why we say we will evict them, we will deal with them. But as we do so, we need to provide people with service stands. We shouldn't be like that other government that didn't have a vision and nothing to offer. So when we say move from here because it's illegal, we must provide them with places to stay. Executive Mayor, your recent visit to Eldorado Park and Westbury has confirmed to you and your team that the living conditions of people residing in flats and old age homes are inhumane. As a result of this, we are allocating 102 million for the upgrade of flats and old age homes in those 2 areas but across the city. Within the housing portfolio, Joshco plays a critical role in providing affordable social housing opportunities in the city. The entity has been allocated a 3-year capital budget of 1.9 billion. We've already spoken about the 10 key projects that Joshco needs to implement in Region A, Region B, and Region D. And we are allocating, as we have said, 768 million MMC Mabaso. We don't want stories of underspending of the money. Developments will also continue through Joshco in Devland, Lufereng, Marlborough, Mansfield, Princess Plot, and Cllr. Madam Speaker, in the new budget, the projected revenue for electricity increases by 17.4% to 20.2 billion. The hike, which many would relate to the tariff increase, is in fact based on multiple factors that include the strategic drive to reduce total electricity losses to a level of 24% in the new year, It is also to cover the turnaround strategy programs projected to enhance revenue and profitability of City Power. It was Executive Mayor. This reminds us of the sad state of affairs, that when we left City Power, we used to refer to it as the cash cow. Through City Power, the city generated lots of money. That's why we could use the money to cross-subsidize other services. But when we came in back again, they were on overdraft, MMC, Mueran. You are concerned, Chairperson Mfikwe, you always ask about the turnaround strategy. So we have made provision in this budget to ensure that at City Power there is a turnaround strategy to deal with the problems. Now, during our public engagements with residents, the key theme that came out were complaints about street lights, their maintenance and subsequent high crime levels in the affected areas. Another pertinent issue that came up was the unreliability of power supply in some of the wards. Through the 19.9 billion operational expenditure budget, City Power will be dealing with street light repairs and installations, electricity failures, facility repairs, as well as preventative maintenance aimed at improving the network stability. The allocation will also cover the establishment of a program management office to manage the transfer of ESCOM areas of supply in Soweto, Orange Farm, Ivory Park, and Sandton to City Power. City Power is further allocated a 3-year capital budget of 2.8 billion, which is aimed at various infrastructure projects. These include 650 million towards electrification of informal settlements and 165 million for public lighting. Over the medium term, the entity will renew and upgrade bulk infrastructure at the Hest Hill substation through the allocation of 95 million. You would have seen some posters doing the rounds claiming that we have taken money away from Hest Hill. We have not done that. We are giving Hest Hill 95 million in the new financial year. In addition, we are giving the Remsech substation an allocation of 172 million, because we understand, the Executive Mayor, that we are a government that should serve all the people of Johannesburg, irregardless of where they stay or of their race. Furthermore, interventions for the overall improvement of the electricity and the network, including new bulk infrastructure, the issues of protecting the investments that we make, should be covered in the budget, MMC Moran. The protection of the investments we make. Johannesburg Water's expected operational surplus amounts to 1.2 billion in the upcoming financial year, with an expenditure budget of 13.4 billion. This will mainly cater for a tariff increase of 6.8% based on a pass-through cost of 5.8% on the water purchase price from Rand Water, plus a 1% retail margin to invest in maintenance of the water network. The entities further allocated a 3.3 billion multi-year capital budget, that is 2 billion and 1.3 billion for water and sewer respectively. The allocated budget will focus on programs geared towards water and sewer pipe replacement, upgrades and storage infrastructure, the wastewater treatment works program, as well as repairs and maintenance. Picketup's operational expenditure budget allocation is 3.4 billion, and the entities allocated 179 million for capital spend. This will enable, among others, the acquisition of land for the Robinson Deep landfill site and the separation at source equipment and facilities. Madam Speaker, the next cluster is the Human and Social Development cluster, consisting of ComDev, Health and Social Development, Joburg City Parks and Zoo, as well as our theaters. The cluster's expenditure budget has increased by 2.7% from the previous financial year. Across the 3-year medium term, The cluster's capital budget amounts to approximately 1.4 billion. As we break down into departmental allocations, community development has been allocated an expenditure budget of 1.4 billion. Much of the increase is because of funding required for the operationalization of new facilities. Fellow councillors, the people of Johannesburg equally deserve functional facilities across the city's communities. This budget is designed to ensure that these community spaces and facilities, which include multi-purpose community centers, libraries and swimming pools, do not end up as white elephants. Councillor Zungu, you would know that in your ward you have a library that is standing idle there. We want the children of Lehigh to be able to go to a library in their township and not have to go to lands to access library facilities. Community development has further been allocated 144 million for the upgrade of facilities and the construction of multi-purpose centers in Matolesville, in Lehigh, in Kalfontein, and in Drizek. In the upcoming year, Cosmo City and Ivory Park will also see the completion of the construction of the new swimming pools so that our kids can enjoy during the school holidays. Madam Speaker, the Health Department expenditure budget increases by 3.7% from the previous year to 1.4 billion in the new year. This will go towards spending on expansion of extended clinic hours across the city and the implementation of the city's substance abuse strategy. It will also cover the rollout of mobile clinics to increase access to primary health care across the city. With an allocated 119 million capital budget, the department will further be expanding healthcare access to facilities through new or upgraded clinics in Freedom Park, in Naledi, Ikensile, Loli, Rabi Ridge. It's also important, Executive Mayor, to indicate that work on land acquisition and planning for a new clinic in Zandspruit is also set to start in this year. The Social Development Department is allocated 76.2 million for programs that include the establishment of a new multi-purpose center in Bedrams and the refurbishment of the Yeta Nathan Community Center in Orlando West. Other priorities that the department will focus on include the management of displaced members of our communities and homelessness. This is to provide agility, as the past year has taught us how we had to avail some of our facilities as temporary shelters at the dawn of the COVID-19 pandemic and in our bid to combat drug and substance abuse. Madam Speaker, in the current financial year, an allocation of 175 million is available for the purchase and distribution of 500,000 food parcels for those who are food insecure in our city. In the new financial year, we are making provision for the purchase and distribution of 140,000 food parcels, and these will mainly be food parcels for child-headed and youth-headed households and the indigent in our city. In the new financial year, work will also start on the establishment of the center to help us deal with issues of gender-based violence and femicide in our city. Shelters for displaced people across the city are also included in the department's budget. Public safety, Rahadi, is allocated a 3-year capital budget of 326 million. Some of the key projects to be implemented include the advancement of Integrated Intelligent Operations Center and the much needed fire and rescue equipment. Over the medium term, the city will also be investing in establishing a one-stop business desk in Midrand to cater for the licensing needs of corporate clients. Fellow councillors, in the past year, we have learned that it is important that we have a city that evolves, and the meaning of what a safer city is has evolved. The definition has been expanded to ensure that the safety of the citizens, organizations, and institutions against threats to their well-being are covered. This has prompted the reintroduction of the ward-based policing program through the Joburg 10+ and effective bylaw enforcement, which now also includes monitoring compliance with COVID-19 regulations. We expect, Rakhadi, that our JMPD officers, as we approach the third wave, will be on the ground to monitor compliance with the COVID-19 protocols and regulations. Johannesburg City Parks and Zoo, MMC Arnold's, is allocated a multi-year capital budget of 297 million. The allocation is set to cover upgrades to the zoo. Very important, because we are human beings. We have got that softer side of us. The kids must go to the zoo. I'm pleased, the Executive Mayor, that they have a vigorous campaign of marketing the zoo. They say come to the city to see the big five. So we are upgrading the zoo, its infrastructure, recreational parks, and cemeteries. Grass cutting initiatives are part of the bulk work that city parks will also be doing going forward. Because we heard during the public consultation processes that grass cutting remained a major problem across the city. An allocation of 167 million is made available for grass cutting in the new financial year. Now the days of one department pointing a finger at the other are over. City Parks is expected to use its allocation to deal with grass cutting. The Joburg theaters receive an expenditure budget of 217 million, which allow them to host, develop, and stage productions that tell a story of social cohesion. The theaters are also expected to stage community-based productions that address social ills through educational theater. A 3-year capital budget of 37 million to upgrade equipment, machinery, and renovations in all the three theaters is made available. And you know the theaters, it's Rodiport, it's Soweto, and the Joburg Theatre. We wish MMC Arnold's that before the end of the term, at least each and every councillor should have been to a theatre. It's unfortunate that we can't take them on a plane now because of the financial burden. Because I know in the previous term, MMC Makubo, who was MMC for Finance, budgeted. So those councillors in that other term can tell you they have been all over the world. But with us, under Matongo, there's no flying. Madam Speaker, the expenditure budget of the economic growth cluster allocation increases by 13.9% from the previous financial year, which places its 3-year capital budget at 7.2 billion. Ladies and gentlemen, the Economic Development Department has been allocated an operating budget of 195 million and about 14 million of capex over the medium term. The allocation will allow the department to revitalize industrial parks and to deal with programs in the priority economic zones. It will further cover the youth skills training program and the establishment of opportunity centers in Orange Farm and Ivory Park. With a capital budget of 12.9 million in the new year, the department will also implement the inner city roadmap, economic development initiatives, and purchase a mobile opportunity center. A mobile opportunity center, MMC COSA, because we understand that people in Porki are very far from the city. So if you are a business person and you stay in Porki and you need assistance from the city, we will be sending our mobile opportunity center from Department of Economic Development to Porki and all those other areas which are far from the city centers. The Transport Department is allocated a multi-year capital budget of 2.7 billion. Projects to be undertaken include, Councillor Chichila, the redevelopment of inner city taxi ranks at 187 million, and the Ria Via BRT Phase 1C infrastructure at 979 million. About 800 million has been allocated for the purchase of new buses for the Phase 1C and 122 million to invest in an automated fare collection system. Fellow councillors, the Transport Department's operational budget is 2 billion in the new year, which will also see to the operationalization of the Rea Vaya route between Alex, Sentin, and the inner city. The primary objective is to transport an average of just over 57,000 passengers a day in the Rea Vaya buses by 2022, which is just around the corner. The department will also implement the integrated transport systems through the development of the transport master plans and the integrated public transport network plans, as well as corridor management plans, cycling promotion, and non-motorized transport. Development planning is allocated an expenditure budget of 426 million. An allocation of 149 million is to be spent on creating community facilities in the transit-oriented development nodes. More focus and efficient customer service operations in the inner city, including economic nodes, which are innovative scenarios planning models designed to support private and public sector investment in the city, are also covered in JDA's budget. Enhanced law enforcement for town planning, building control, and outdoor advertising is also covered in the budget for JDA. Madam Speaker, the key capital projects over the medium term undertaken by JDA on our behalf include the Brixton Social Cluster with 68 million, the Jabulani Precinct upgrades for 46 million, and the Inner City Partnerships Program at 87 million. The Joburg Market is allocated an operating expenditure of 445 million and a 3-year capital budget of 240 million. The budget is allocated to projects that include the extension of its trading spaces for a more effective food safety and compliant environment. The allocation also covers initiatives for alternative energy systems and the upgrade of facilities. As part of the entity's 3-year capital budget of 2.8 billion, JRA will continue with the war on potholes across the city. The city's roads needs to be top-notch. We're aspiring to be a world-class African city. So when people come to our city, they look at our roads. So when they see that our roads are not in good shape, then our aspiration of becoming a world-class African city of the future are far-fetched. So MMC Makuba, help us. The agency will also ensure that the tarring of gravel roads in Tsepisong, Maibuye, Kalfontein, and Zandspruit is undertaken. The roads agency will further ensure conversion of open drains to underground stormwater systems, continue with the bridge rehabilitation projects, the implementation of an intelligent transport system, and traffic light management. Metrobus is allocated an operating expenditure budget of 767 million and a 3-year capital budget of 288 million to also spend on the bus refurbishment project and a cashless ticketing system. A bus refurbishment project. People complain that the metro buses get stuck on the road all the time. We don't want that. That's why we are allocating the money, MMC Makuba, that the buses must be on the road all the time. Madam Speaker, I am happy to announce that 45 million has been set aside for the re-establishment of Johannesburg Tourism Company. We have for far too long neglected the promotion of Johannesburg as a destination of choice. Our infrastructure, transport network, quick access to airports, and the world-class hospitality and conferencing facility certainly make our city a destination of choice. The sector is also critical for the stimulation of the economy, especially in support of SMMEs. Madam Speaker, this brings me then to the most important cluster, the cluster that I lead, the good governance cluster, which is allocated, which is made up of the Office of the City Manager, Group Comms and Marketing, Group Forensic, the finance department, the Metro Trading Company, the office of the legislature, and the ombudsman. Now, the function of this cluster is primarily to enable the municipality to become a high-performing metropolitan government that proactively contributes to and builds a sustainable, socially inclusive, and locally integrated and globally competitive Gauteng city region. You can hear from the clusters as we project the centrality of the cluster, of the role of the cluster and what it needs to do. To say above all, we have to make Johannesburg that kind of a city. Now, it's important that we also ensure that the cluster performs a number of things. One of the things it has to do is to preserve shareholder value in municipal entities and the professionalization of the local government institution, that is Johannesburg, to ensure that the citizens' experience of the city is that of quality and care across its regions. Madam Speaker, the 3-year medium-term capital budget for the cluster amounts to 3.6 billion. GICT is going to be implementing what we call the Smart City Enablement Program, which is allocated 50 million, while we are also going to allocate 110 million, which goes towards the rollout of 1,000 free Wi-Fi hotspots across the city. 1,000 free Wi-Fi hotspots across the city. Because we understand and we have learned from COVID that without access to the internet, to free Wi-Fi, we have problems. So 1,000 free Wi-Fi hotspots to be rolled out. The group corporate and shared services is allocated 615 million for capital expenditure over the medium term, which also covers, listen, Councillor San, which also covers the procurement of the much needed proper fire engines and not the grass cutting units, grass units like the ones that we have. So we are going to be buying proper fire engines, not the grass units, because a grass unit is meant to put out the fire when there's a grass in the field there. When a building is burning on the 21st floor, the grass unit is unable to reach there. So we're buying proper fire engines. Well, Executive Mayor, Group Finance is allocated 6 billion in operational expenditure budget and a mere 28 capital budget. We are also expected through our allocations, Executive Mayor, to implement an online electronic bill presentation and payment portal. This will expand our engagement with customers through smart and virtual platforms. The portal will also go a long way in ensuring that billing queries and non-delivery of customer statements is dealt with efficiently. You always forward to me, Executive Mayor, messages of customers who say, I don't receive a statement. I don't know how much to pay. Now, how am I expected to pay if I don't receive a statement? So this portal will help us deal with, among others, that problem of the delivery of statements to our customers. Madam Speaker, proper planning and feasibility studies still need to be undertaken by GCSS to ensure that we effectively secure our facilities and that our staff need to feel safe in their workplaces. We are currently dealing with the disastrous insourcing of security personnel, which has ballooned our security costs from 576 million in the 2018-2019 financial year to almost 1.3 billion in the 2019-2020 financial year. So MMC Masuku, you need to help us with proper feasibility studies of a hybrid system to ensure that we feel safe and secure and our assets are protected. Madam Speaker, as it stands, one of the greatest risks to the table budget is the unfinalized local government wage negotiations. However, it is important to note that in planning for financial sustainability, we consider the CPI, which is estimated at 4.3% for the new financial year, 4.4% for the 22-23 financial year, and 4.5% for the outer year. The CPI places estimated salary increases at the same level in the respective financial years, with a natural attrition of 0.5% included in the budget each year. Madam Speaker, before I conclude, may I point out that as we head into the Youth Month in commemoration of June 16, we need to remind the youth of Johannesburg that they have a significant role to play in rebuilding and transforming our city to be a city that thrives. And it is a role that they must take up. Madam Speaker, to quote former Johannesburg Mayor Pakstow from his 2015 State of the City address, when he spoke about the youth, he said, and I quote, "We are a city where the young lead the call for transformation, demanding the opportunity to work, to improve their lives, and become the best of what they can be. A city which knows that with just a little help, our youth are not the challenge some perceive them to be, but our greatest asset." Close quote. Fellow councillors, this statement says all that we need to do is to keep in mind the significance of the youth in rebuilding and transforming Johannesburg into a thriving city. An allocation of 90 million over the medium term is provided in the budget for youth development programs, whilst a further 60 million is allocated to programs to address the plight and the needs of our military veterans. Furthermore, the Citizen Relations and Urban Management Department, Mr. Mendru, is set to implement the Augmented Services Project by ensuring that 10 people per ward are employed on a permanent basis as general workers in our city. The 10 people, who must be residents from the wards themselves, are to be responsible as frontline workers for identifying service delivery failures in wards and working with our entities to speedily resolve these concerns where identified. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, a significant amount of the budget presented today comes from the rates and taxes collected from the ratepayers of Johannesburg. These are the people who faithfully kept paying their municipal accounts during the hard lockdown and ensured that basic service delivery continued in the city. Fellow councillors, please allow me to express my gratitude to the ratepayers of Johannesburg for their demonstrated active citizenry. Thank you for your commitment to the city and your patience with us. We can stand in the council chamber today to present the new budget of the city with a sense of privilege that many South African municipalities can only wish for, following the economic devastation of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic on their coffers. However, I can tell you without doubt that Johannesburg ratepayers are not pleased with some of the services we render to them. There are complaints every day about basic municipal services that we should be excelling in as a progressive city. City officials, the displeasure tabled in the city's recent public participation engagements was very loud and clear, more especially because residents complained of same municipal service failures on our part. We need to view the ratepayers' continued payment of municipal accounts as another rare opportunity given to all of us to self-correct in the execution of our duties to avoid a rates boycott in the near future that will see us eventually have no budget to present. Madam Speaker, the difficult year of 2021 is also the 150th commemoration year of the liberation struggle icon and human rights activist, Mama Charlotte Maxeke. It is therefore an opportune time that we pull a page from her legendary wisdom to remind ourselves why we are public servants. Mayor Charlotte Maxeke once clarified that, and she said, I quote, "This work is not for yourself. Kill that spirit of self and do not live above your people, but live with them. And if you can rise, bring someone with you." Fellow councillors, city officials, that is the principle that we all need to subscribe to in how we serve the people of Johannesburg. Using the authority entrusted upon us to make a difference, especially during the time of the COVID pandemic. Regional Secretary of the ANC, Mr. Dada Murero, you sent me a note this morning, and I thought it's important that we should also send the message. You would remember, Executive Mayor, when we were still on the opposition benches, there was a function at City Hall, and there was some lady there who made remarks. Now I take this opportunity, Executive Mayor, to call upon this important lady who is part of this council, Councillor Mpho Palat, to lead from the other side the call throughout the world to condemn apartheid Israel for the crimes against humanity in Palestine. I'm sure when we debate the budget on Thursday, she will be here. We will ask MMC Masuku to hand over what she has now over to her. So the cries of the people of Palestine must echo throughout the world, and we should all be saying that the people of Palestine are not free, and we too, as a result, are not free. Acting City Manager Ntate Makola, working with Mr. Brink, on Thursday, the 27th of May, the Council will hand over to you 73.3 billion to you and your executive team to deliver on the commitments we have made in the State of the City address and the budget speech that we are presenting today. We appeal to you to use the budget to rebuild and transform Johannesburg into a thriving city. On behalf of the Executive Mayor and the GLU government, we present the documents, the budget documents, for consideration and approval by the Council at its scheduled meeting on the 27th of May 2021. I thank you.
Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. Palestine. Palestine.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank councillors.
Hakuna muntu ophethe umhlaba yedwa. Umhlaba wonke esandleni sabantu. Hakuna muntu ophethe umhlaba bayesaba ma.
Thank you.
want people to expropriate land. That's part of what this. We want people
very
to
much.
expropriate land. People want land outside there,
Councillor.
and you say people are invading land.
Okay. All right. Can we please be settled? Thank you very much, MMC Zwinaye Maphandleni Matongo. Indeed, the citizens of Johannesburg are in good hands. Thank you to our citizens for tuning in. Thanks to our guests present today, members of the media present. Thank you very much. We know that you will be telling a good story. Councillors, copies of the speech are available outside. As you go out, you will get the copies of the speech. Thank you very much. We have come to the end of today's business. The debate and consideration of reports will be on Thursday, the 27th of May, 2021. I am now going to hand over to the Secretary to Council, who will indicate the order in which we will leave the chamber to our lunch areas. Thank you all of you for attending this meeting today. Enjoy your lunch. And the meeting is adjourned, but let us listen to the Secretary to Council. Please get seated until you hear the order of proceeding from the Secretary to Council.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In terms of the order of proceedings today, Madam Speaker, will we please request you to leave? You'll be ushered by the protocol. Can you please leave? Thank you, Madam Speaker. Followed by the Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg. Executive Mayor. The protocol team will usher you out. Can we also request the Council Chief Whip and the chairpersons, the chair of chairpersons, to also leave? They will be also ushered by the protocol team, Council Chief Whip and chair of chairs. Can we also request that the leader of the executive business and all MMCs to follow? The protocol team will be able to usher you out. Thanks. MMCs. The chairpersons of committees, the chairpersons of our Section 79 committees, please follow. Chairpersons of Section 79 committees,